What's up everybody and welcome to today's video. I'm your host Phil, and in today's video we're going to take a second look at Celestion SpeakerMix Pro. Now, in case you haven't watched it already, I already made a video of Celestion SpeakerMix Pro where I kind of described what it's all about, showed you a few sound samples, and we went through the graphical user interface. However, if you have not watched the video yet, let me quickly take you on the road along and explain to you what Celestion SpeakerMix Pro is all about. Celestion SpeakerMix Pro basically is nothing else but a guitar cabinet software simulation. What it does is it allows you to take multiple channels, in this case 6 channels, where you can select different cabinet and speaker configurations and you can blend them to craft your own unique tone. And it all happens within the software called SpeakerMix Pro by using so-called dynamic speaker responses, also known as DSR. DSRs are somewhat of an enhanced impulse response, which are exclusively available from Celestion Digital and also exclusively usable in SpeakerMix Pro. So my goal for this video today is that we're going to take those DSRs and we're going to compare them to some third-party impulse response libraries which are out there on the market, as well as comparing SpeakerMix Pro as a whole against some other guitar cabinet simulation software out there, for example, Get Good Drums Kali Oversized. And with that out of the way, let's roll that intro and directly dive into some riffing. Welcome to today's video and thanks again for tuning in. So that is Celestion SpeakerMix Pro, what you heard. I am using as an amplifier here the STL AmpHub JSX model, the Meridian XSR, and as a cabinet simulation, you can see that I got the cabinet simulation with an AmpHub bypassed. I'm using Celestion SpeakerMix Pro. Now the goal in today's video is to basically compare Celestion SpeakerMix Pro against some third-party impulse response libraries and some other guitar cabinet software simulations, because I personally think that SpeakerMix Pro has something really special compared against those impulse responses. Now, nothing against impulse responses. If you know my channel a little bit, if you know me, you know that I have dug super deep into the rabbit hole when it comes to impulse responses. I'm also a big fan of Celestion impulse responses, as well as, for example, Bogren or Mendel impulse responses. So there are plenty of great options out there. But what I really like about SpeakerMix Pro is that it has a little bit more of that dynamic feel to it. It's very hard to describe. It's also maybe something which you cannot necessarily hear, but rather when you are playing the guitar, there's just some nuanced differences out there. But before we dive deeper into the comparison, into the shootout, let me quickly explain you again how SpeakerMix Pro works. I have already a full-fledged video where I'm explaining everything in full detail. I'm just brushing very quickly over this. So in the upper section, you got your, I would call it, cabinet speaker configuration. Here you can choose different DSRs, which we have purchased together with SpeakerMix Pro from the Celestion Digital website. By clicking on this over here on the speaker, you basically get into this menu where you can choose a plethora of different options out there. So you, for example, if I just would go into the Vintage 30, let's just say in the Vintage 30, you already can see that here I purchased the 4x12, the 2x12 open, and the 1x12 closed configuration, and then you can choose the respective microphones. For now, I'm leaving everything as it is right now to go over and show you the mixing console. Here you got your input stage where you can set the impedance curve. The impedance curve replicates or simulates the behavior of a power amp interacting with your speaker, and the more you drive the Z curve up, the more thump you're getting, the more of that, I would say a little bit more of a mid scoop, but therefore you're getting a lot more low end. Not diving into that one because I already showed you in the previous video what's going on. In these different channels over here, you have the respective speaker combinations which you can set. You can see that I have now a blend going on between three different speaker types, one being the Vintage 30, one being the A-Type, which is their newest DSR, which they added to the collection, as well as here the Green Pack, into certain, relations to each other, volume-wise, blended a little bit the room. That's the tone which I'm getting out here. I'm pretty satisfied with this tone already. I really think it sounds crushing. So these are the single compartments of the tone, which kind of blend in together to this full massive tone. One small thing which you might have recognized already is that when I'm doing something in the respective channel over here, other than actually clicking into the channel, there is no change in speaker configuration. So when I, for example, I'm in channel 1, where I got the Celestion Vintage 30 loaded, and I solo out this over here, it unfortunately does not bring me to the display of channel 2. I have to, in fact, go to a different channel and then back in order to display the channel. That's one of the small gripes which I have with the plugin. Otherwise, I really think it's a cool plugin, it's a cool setup. The user interface is very intuitive, in my personal opinion, so I can work very well with that. But that's all stuff which I already discussed in the first video. So this video over here is supposed to be more of a comparison shootout type. So what I've prepared is I already created several different options, several different plugins, presets, impulse response combinations, and so on and so forth over here, which I'm going to present you, which we're going to shoot out against the SpeakerMix Pro setup as I have it right now. And then in the end, I'm also going to do a full mix comparison between SpeakerMix Pro and the other options out there. Just a quick note stopping by while I'm recording this. At the end of the video, we're also going to have a riff, which is going to be played in a loop, and I'm going to toggle between the different impulse responses, cabinet simulation combinations. I'm doing this so that you guys get the best comparison available, so that you can make an informed decision on whether or not you want to purchase SpeakerMix Pro or not, because of course, when just riffing along, you don't get the full picture to compare and make an informed decision without having that quick A/B comparison, where you immediately catch all the differences. So that's what's going to come at the end of this video. So let's talk about the different impulse response or speaker simulation combinations which I've chosen to shoot out against the SpeakerMix Pro. First off, obviously, we got SpeakerMix Pro in the setting which I just showed you. Then, moving on, we got STL Tones NADIR loaded with two Celestion impulse responses, because we actually want to compare the DSRs against the impulse responses. Next up, we got the Amp Hub stock cabinet section. Next up, we got the Amp Hub stock cabinet section, where I loaded the Bogart SLV30, which are basically Bogner Vintage 30 cabinets. In this case, I'm running a blend of an SM57 together. Next on the list, we got Mendel IRs. Mendel IRs are a really cool, kind of niche impulse response company, or Mendel himself is actually the guitarist of Aborted. I'm not sure if he's still playing with Aborted, but he did for a while. And he brought out several different impulse response packs. I think he also brought out some drum libraries, but I'm not sure about that. Anyhow, I got the free pack over here, which you can purchase by subscribing to their newsletter. It's really awesome. I really love these impulse responses, and when I load Amp Hub in itself, because unfortunately SpeakerMix Pro does not have the ability to load as a standalone plugin or something in that sort, you have to use a digital audio workstation. However, when I load STL Amp Hub on itself, I'm mostly using these IRs, which I'm also having here as a preset prepared. And as a last choice for the shootout, I'm going with Get Good Drums Cali Oversized. Cali Oversized is basically something fairly similar to SpeakerMix Pro, but working more on impulse responses which you can load, which are made by Adam Get Good Nolly. And these impulse responses have been shot with his favorite, I think it was a Mesa Boogie oversized vintage 30 loaded cabinet. This plugin was very sought after. It had a great impact on the market back when it was released. I also made a demo of it and I really liked the plugin. However, I'm not using it that much lately because I mostly just want to open a plugin and play along, and that's what I do with AmpHub together with the Mendel IRs. This is really cool if you have, for example, like some amplifiers like I have over here, and you have a load box which you then slam into your interface, like the line, not taking the box and slamming it into the interface. What I mean by that is taking the line out of that respective load box and putting it into one of the inputs of your audio interface. That also works very well together with solutions like SpeakerMix Pro or Get Good Drums Cali Oversized. And there's also going to be a video very soon where I'm going to compare a resistive load box against a reactive load box, because you might guess it, I have actually a resistive load box and also a reactive load box. Both are from Tubetown do-it-yourself kits, which I built together over here. This is the Tone Hound, and this over here is the POS. And they're both rated at 100 watts, 16 ohms. So that allows me to do a great comparison for you guys very soon, where we're going to explore the possibilities of these kind of load boxes together with software such as Get Good Drums Cali Oversized or SpeakerMix Pro, in fact. Now enough talking. I'll do some riffing over here, and I got this cool trick over here. If you mark two plugins and you press Ctrl B, then you are toggling between those two plugins. So I'm just gonna play, then I'm gonna let a note ring. I'm just gonna make my settings over here with the mouse, and then I'm gonna do my switching over here. So let's go first with SpeakerMix Pro, and off the charts we go. So what really comes to mind while playing through these different impulse responses is that SpeakerMix Pro has a little bit more thump. That is something which I really like. It has a very pleasant low-end response, especially not only what you're hearing, but actually what you're feeling while playing. So that's very cool, that's very natural. And what I also like is it has a great sizzle to it. That could be because I have more possibilities to do some blending over here than, for example, in NADIR, where I'm limited to only 2. There might be possibilities with the STL Tones Libra, for example, or I think also Audio Assault has their Air plugin out there, which are all fantastic impulse response loaders, have more possibilities to load impulse responses, more than 2 of them. But, however, I have to say, I'm doing now just simply a quick comparison between my favorite presets out there, and SpeakerMix Pro so far is winning. I find that personally very remarkable because I was an avid impulse response user for years, maybe even a decade by now. And yes, I have always wanted to try out SpeakerMix Pro. I also had the demo at some point in time, but I couldn't get it to work properly because I'm just an idiot. And to be fair, SpeakerMix Pro is a little bit complicated to dial in the first time you are using it. So there's that. However, I'm very satisfied, and I think it sounds absolutely killer. And having the possibility of having all of these different Celestion speakers at your disposal, of course, given that you have bought the DSRs, you get 10 free when you purchase SpeakerMix Pro the first time. But given that possibility, I really find it super versatile. And yeah, it's just a great plugin. And it really holds up to the standards which we are used to in the guitar community by now. I'm going to do a little bit more riffing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to solo out the Vintage 30 over here. And I'm going to just change speakers from time to time. Let's do that. Just that you kind of get an idea again what's going on. I already did something fairly similar in the first video, but however, why not do it in this video as well? Then you can spare watching the other video. You got all the information condensed in this one. Now, one thing to note is that Celestion Digital not only has DSRs for guitar speakers, but they also have DSRs for bass speakers. Over here we got the Pulse series, where I made a nice blend of the 10-inch, the 12-inch, and the 15-inch. And this is what it sounds like. One thing which I also want to note is I'm not a bass player by any means. This is not the best bass in the world. It's kind of an, I think it's an Ibanez Roadster or something. I got it from a friend of mine. Thank you. You know who you are. And yeah, it's my workhorse bass for all the demos which I do, which you are listening on this channel. Whenever there's bass, this is the one which is played on this one. Yeah, but what you can hear already is, I think it has a really cool, realistic sound to it. Let me shortly compare this to the Amp-Up bass cabinet, which I use for my regular Amp-Up just play along bass setting. So while the Amp-Up bass is a little bit punchier in the mids, it has a little bit more of that, I would say, clarity, but SpeakerMix Pro, the DSRs, have way more realism to that. And I personally like this kind of realism, this low end, it has more of that room character. It's super hard to describe, but I hope you kind of get the idea. But yeah, just wanted to quickly show you that there are bass DSRs out there for you guys to check out and for you guys to play along with. Moving on, we now want to compare Celestion SpeakerMix Pro against some of the competitors out there. For that, I moved my camera a little bit up here in the screen. You can see it so that you guys can see this lower section over here. What I prepared for this is basically we got guitar track groups, which I will explain and come to. Then we got the bass and the drums over here. The guitar track groups are basically always panned a little bit left, a little bit right, 2 guitars, 1 on each side. And basically, the amplifiers are always the same. we always go for STL AmpHub. I personally think that's the best software out there. And we're going first for the JSX, for the PV JSX on one side and the 5150 on the other side. And then I got basically the SpeakerMix Pro combinations of some sort loaded in there. So you can see over here that they are a little bit different. These don't have the room blends in. These have the room blends in, so not doing too much with that. However, this setting is copied through all the different track groups, amp-wise, not cabinet-wise, and then I'm just trading out the cabinet for whatever I got over here. In the second track group, for example, I'm using Celestion impulse responses, so I got a full center blend between the Creamback and the V30. That's a combination I like very much. And then my go-to impulse responses when I'm playing AmpHub in itself, the Mendel IRs, which I'm just smacking in right after the respective amplifier, meaning the JSX or the PV5150 from STL AmpHub. Now, let me quickly go over here. Yeah, I'll just press start, and then you guys are gonna hear a little bit metal. And there you have it, guys. That's a full-scale comparison between Celestion Digital SpeakerMix Pro and some other guitar cabinet software simulation solutions out there on the market. Thank you very much for watching. I hope that you could drag something useful out of this video, which allows you to make an informed decision whether or not SpeakerMix Pro is for you or not. I have to disclaim though, not this video, but the first video has been sponsored in fact by Celestion Digital, and they also provided SpeakerMix Pro and the DSRs free to me. However, all thoughts and opinions are mine. You will never get a biased review from me regarding some products. However, that out of the way, I have to say SpeakerMix Pro really does fulfill my personal expectations and my needs on a guitar cabinet software, and I'm seeing myself using that a lot more in the future. What do you guys think about SpeakerMix Pro? Do you think it can live up to the expectations you have on guitar cabinet simulation, or is there something missing on that? Let me know down in the comments below, and if you want to in fact purchase something from Celestion Digital, I highly appreciate if you would use the affiliate link, which you can find in the description down below. It gives me a little bit of a kickback, which I can put straight into the channel at no extra cost for you guys, and it lets Celestion Digital know you're coming from my side. Thank you everybody for watching. I highly appreciate it. Without you guys and your guys' support, this video wouldn't have been possible. So thank you again, and we're gonna see each other soon in the next video. Until then, keep it fucking metal.